Okay, for today's business matters, worker productivity slid in the first quarter, more than initially thought, actually. The Labor Department's Bureau of Labor Statistics tracks non-farm productivity, and this measures hourly output per worker. That number was revised down to 1.5% decrease. This is the first drop in nearly 3 years. It dipped down from last year's fourth quarter, when productivity increased to nearly 2%. And at this time a year ago, productivity had grown just over 1%. Social discussion board Reddit is suing an artificial intelligence startup. Anthropic is accused of stealing data from the social media website to train its AI models, and it's the latest battle against AI companies alleging unauthorized use of third-party content. An Anthropic spokesperson said that it disagrees with Reddit's claims and said it will defend itself. Now, Sam's Club is pulling synthetic dyes from its private label. The Walmart-owned warehouse store announced that it would eliminate more than 40 ingredients from its members' mark products by the end of the year. These ingredients include artificial colors and aspartame. This is part of the company's Made Without initiative. It's altering its food and drinks to evolve with its customers, especially younger health-conscious shoppers. Now, more malicious cyber activity based in China has been detected by OpenAI. The ChatGPT developer has flagged an increased number of Chinese groups using its software for covert operations. The company regularly reviews malicious activity detected on its platform. These findings are part of its latest report. The startup explained that the scope and tactics used by these groups have expanded, but were generally small in scale and targeted limited audiences. It shared some examples, such as OpenAI found China-based accounts generating polarized social media content. Other China-linked accounts were found using the software for open-source research and script modification. Rare earth metals are becoming an abundant concern around the world. China's export controls are revealing the dangers of its dominance over the industry. President Trump addressing this with Chinese Communist Party leader Xi Jinping today. Take a look.
Rare earths power everyday lives, and with China's near monopoly of the industry, it essentially holds all the power of those everyday necessities. Right now, a small Ministry of Commerce team is basically deciding the fate of industries. This is especially true for global automakers who have warned that production could be delayed or halted. In April, China started requiring licenses for rare mineral exports. It agreed to roll back restrictions as part of a temporary tariff agreement with the U.S. But China is now being accused of going back on that. This was addressed during a call today between President Trump and leader Xi Jinping. After the chat, Trump posted on Truth Social that, quote, there should no longer be any questions respecting the complexity of rare earth products. Applications are supposed to be processed in 45 working days, but the ministry says ones related to national security will take longer. A researcher has noted it's unclear if the delays are bureaucratic or intentional weaponization.
Now, for a quick update on Amazon, the company is bringing AI to a part of the U.S. where textile and apparel jobs have disappeared over the decades. So the tech giant is planning to invest about $10 billion towards building a campus in North Carolina, and this will expand its cloud computing and artificial intelligence infrastructure. North Carolina's governor called the investment the largest in state history. And in a statement, Amazon said this should create at least 500 jobs and support thousands more through construction and supply chain providers. North Carolina is already home to data centers, including some operated by Apple. The U.S. trade deficit took a sharp drop in April. And today, the Commerce Department reported a 55% decline in the U.S. trade deficit, which calculates the difference between how much is spent on imports versus how much is made on exports. The report says the deficit fell to $61.6 billion, and that's compared to $138 billion in March. Trade experts say the drop was the result of a slowdown in retailer buying after businesses rushed to stock up ahead of President Trump's tariffs. European consumer organization BEUC filed a complaint with the European Commission today against Chinese online retailer Shein. And the group accuses it of using tactics designed to make people buy more on its app and website. Here's the story.
Fast fashion retailer Shein has been accused of manipulating shoppers. European consumer group Burke said it uses so-called dark patterns to push people to buy more. It's filed a complaint to the European Commission. That cites practices including pop-up ads that tell people they will lose promotions if they leave the app. The group says Shein also uses countdown timers to create pressure to make a purchase. And it says the firm sends excessive notifications, with one phone getting 12 in a day. In a statement, Shein said it was working with the Commission and consumer bodies to make sure it complied with EU laws. It said Burke had not accepted its request for a meeting. The consumer group has also targeted Shein rival Temu in a previous complaint. Both firms have grown rapidly in Europe, helped by apps that turn shopping into a game. In Shein's Puppy Keep game, for example, users have to feed a virtual dog and collect rewards to get free items. They can get more points by using the app and making orders, but have to log in every day or risk losing cumulative awards. In a separate move last month, the Commission notified Shein of practices that breach EU law and said it would face fines if it didn't address the concerns.
Meanwhile, first-time claims for jobless benefits rose more than expected last week. Labor Department data shows roughly 247,000 people filed for initial unemployment insurance during the week that ended May 31st. And that's well above economists' expectations, and is the highest weekly tally in about 8 months. The U.S. labor market has cooled significantly during the past year. The pullback in job growth has largely been attributed to employers reining in hiring rather than conducting mass layoffs. And the U.S. Department of Agriculture has issued a public health alert for some raw ground beef products sold at Whole Foods markets over a risk of E. coli contamination. The products are 1 pound vacuum sealed packages of organic Rancher Organic 85% lean ground beef. They have use or freeze by dates of June 19th or June 20th. The raw ground beef is no longer available for purchase, but the USDA says people may still have it in their freezers or refrigerators. The meat should not be used and should be thrown away or returned to the store. There are no confirmed reports of anyone getting sick. Now, Father's Day is right around the corner, and spending is expected to reach record highs. Here are the details on spending.
It's the time of year to celebrate the dads in our lives, and shoppers are going all out. Catherine Cullen with the National Retail Federation says Father's Day spending is expected to reach $24 billion this year. Cullen says that's a record. So how much are people budgeting for? According to the NRF's latest survey, shoppers plan to spend just under $200 per person this year. That's about $10 more than last year. Shoppers are also spending money on clothing, gift cards, electronics, and personal care. Colin says some retailers are running sales ahead of Father's Day, so shoppers can score some deals right now.
Now, I'm sure you've heard of this already. It's Nintendo's first major console launch in about 8 years. The Nintendo Switch 2 launched at midnight as fans lined up around the world. However, trade tensions between the US and China are still affecting electronics purchases worldwide. And don't forget about scalpers, often reselling hot new items, adding hundreds of dollars to the original cost. We're going to NTD's Sean Marshall now with the details on how Nintendo has taken steps to reduce these risks.
Fans were joyfully awaiting the Nintendo Switch 2 midnight release on Wednesday night. 2.2 million people applied for a lottery to buy the Switch 2 in Japan, according to a translation of an X post from Nintendo in April. Nearly all U.S. Best Buy stores opened just after midnight to accommodate eager enthusiasts. But supply chains between the United States and China are still dealing with tariffs and trade tensions.
Nintendo, like all other companies, are exposed to the uncertainties around tariff and other kind of geopolitical things happening in the world. And arguably, Nintendo is right now more exposed than, let's say, Sony PlayStation or Xbox, just because Nintendo is launching a console now.
To reduce risk, since 2019, Nintendo has expanded manufacturing into countries like Vietnam and Cambodia to avoid relying too heavily on China. Scalping is also another issue for Nintendo. The company put up some barriers to deal with scalping ahead of the release and pre-orders, like using a lottery system in Japan. And in May, Nintendo and 3 Japanese e-commerce sites announced measures to combat fraudulent behavior. The sites agreed to proactively remove fraudulent listings and establish a collaborative system for information sharing. Nintendo also introduced a new loyalty program requiring prospective buyers to have an active Nintendo account. They also needed to get a Nintendo Switch online membership for a year and to have clocked at least 50 hours of gameplay, limiting console sales to just one per person. Buyers who wanted to snatch more than one Switch could still place multiple orders through other retailers like Amazon or Walmart. Nintendo's decision to stick with a winning template for the Switch 2 is a testament to the original's popularity. It's also a gamble that its success will endure for the better part of the next decade, but Nintendo's catalog of beloved characters and games could give it an edge against rivals. Gamers typically buy a Nintendo console because they want exclusive games like Super Mario or The Legend of Zelda, despite owning another gaming device. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
And quickly onto markets. Wall Street closed lower today. Tesla dropped amid an escalating public feud between Elon Musk and President Trump over EV tax credits and other things. Investors were initially buoyed by news of mutual visit invitations between Trump and China's Xi Jinping, easing trade tensions after a minerals dispute. However, weaker U.S. jobs data and Fed concerns about inflation from tariffs dampened sentiment. The Federal Reserve is expected to hold rates steady despite Trump's push for cuts and as inflation and economic certainty persists. And that's it today on Business Matters.